us from Amsterdam. And today, what we want to do is sort of showcase the whole platform and show you how we get from an idea all the way in 40 minutes to an application that works. You know, limited functionality, but it's going to work. It's going to do something, and this is where it ties in very nicely with what Alvaro just said. Is, you know, low code, no code is really a way, whether it is for internal clients that you might have where you work, or for external clients as a developer, a way of very quickly developing exactly something made to measure, and being able to iterate and reiterate on a continuous basis to keep improving what you've made, and offer a way of getting people involved in the development process, which you will see while Douwe is doing the demo. Even though you guys have never seen WEM before, you will be able to follow what we are doing. You know, there will be things that are a little bit, okay, what's going on here, but most of it, you know, the process, the way Douwe is going to map it out, will be clear for everyone. And that's really the great power of WEM, is that you can have very short lines between the developer and the business, and making sure that, you know, you get a one-time right final product made there. I will not take up any more time and hand it over to Douwe. Thanks very much, Douwe, for being here.
Okay, thanks, David. Let me share. Yes, allow. Don't use Google Meet a lot, so I hope this works. What are you seeing now?
Yeah, we're seeing your Google Meet screen.
Oh, that's not what I want.
Actually, I think we're seeing your full... Yeah, we're seeing all of your screen. Now we're seeing your emails.
And now?
Seeing your email still.
Still my email.
I think we're seeing a full display share.
No, but I have multiple screens and it's showing the wrong screen. How about now?
Yes, now we're seeing the modeler.
Nice. Okay. As David already mentioned, now you're seeing the modeler. So anytime you build something in WEM, you do that by using the modeler. And David has made a start last night with a data model. And the only reason we did that is because building the data model is easy. And I can just show you now. What we didn't do is we didn't add a list of students. And creating the entire data model, it's when you do it once, you see how it works. So we thought we'd do this already. So I'm only going to add a list called student. So let's say first name, last name, and email. Oh, that is not so. Email. And as you can see now, I've only added text fields, but there's multiple type of fields that you can add. And you can see here and on the icon that the other database list. So we have courses, we have programs, we have trimester. They're already added with different types of fields. But in our case right now, all I need is first name, last name, and email. And this allows me to immediately start with building the flowcharts, which are actually create the logic of the application. And as you can see, we started from scratch, so we only have one flowchart, which is the home flowchart, and that's created automatically. And here on the left, you see all the nodes, and nodes are just blocks of functionality in essence. And by dragging the nodes to the canvas, you can create an application any way you like, really. So right now, that's just what we're going to do. And at first, I'd like to start with creating a screen for all the database list that we have. So I'm going to start with courses. So start with a new flowchart, course overview, like this. And first drag an interaction node to it, call it course overview. And when I double click it, I can start building the template itself. And this is the screen that the user is going to see. So I'll keep it simple and call it here, drag in a panel, call it course overview. And here I'd like to see all the courses that I have in our system. Start with code and name and program, trimester and credits. And you can see based on the order, that's also the order it uses. The only thing you see here, these are reference fields. And if you know anything about data modeling, this is what we call a foreign key. So in this case, we have a reference to program, meaning one program can contain multiple courses. That's how this works. The only thing, since this is a reference, we have to tell the system what I'd like to see here. And that's just the name of the program. And we also have one for trimester. And I'll just call that, I'll just use the name of the trimester itself. And now I've created a very, very simple screen. And WEM allows me to now see what I've just built by clicking preview. And as you can see here, this is the preview, and these are the fields I've just added. And the nice thing about this preview is that when I change something, so for instance, I can change the color by using the style context and change the heading. And maybe instead of trimester ref, I just want to see trimester. And here I'd like to see program and save it. Now, WEM will update almost instantly. So it's really useful to see what you're doing. And the only problem right now is that I don't have any data in it. So I'd like to add some way of adding data to the system. And first I'm going to show you how to create a simple screen to add and edit. And afterwards we can do what David did, is he made some data and we can import that. But first I'd just like to do it by hand. And for that I'll use a table. And this table only is useful to help me with alignment and that kind of stuff. So all I do now is add a button. It's called new course. And that's aligned to the right with an icon with a plus. And instead of new course, I'll call it course. Now, again, if I save it, first a different color, so it's at least visible, you'll see the course button here appearing, which doesn't do anything. That's why it gives an error, because what I've done is I've created an exit in the interaction node, which is called new course. That's the one I just added. And now what we need to do is add the logic behind that button. So in our case, it's an add row of courses and a screen with the course details. So I'll just call it details and I'll show it as an overlay. You see the icon changing, meaning this is an overlay or a pop-up, whatever you want to call it. And this is, again, double clicking it allows me to create it. And I'd like to be able to edit all these fields in it. And you can see here row in programs, because again, this is a reference field. So again, I have to tell them, you have to look at the label, select program. And I can also say it needs to be sorted by the name, like this. Same thing for trimester. I'd like to sort it by name. Or no, in this case, I'd like to sort it by start date. And I'd like the label to say the name. And the label is here, select trimester. Now, I can also say the code and the name, for instance, are required, and the credits. And now all I have to do is say save. And the save button, I can give an icon or another plus like floppy. And a color like this, and I can do cancel. And this one has an undo icon. Save. So now this screen is ready, and now I can add the save node. and the discard all changes node. And now all I have to do is add the, or drag the arrows in the right order. So cancel goes there and save goes there. And now I've created a very, very small system that allows me to add courses. So 1, 2, 3, ABC. And I don't have any programs yet. And this is 100. One very nice thing about this is that I can also already publish this, but then what I need to do is point this course overview to, or from the home chart, or flowchart to the course overview. And now I can already do my first publish if I want to. Of course, it's a little bit early, but it's just to show you that this already works. And while it's publishing, I can wait. Oh, it's already done. And now I can go to this URL, and you can do the same. It's a little bit complicated, David, but so this is, it's in the chat. And anybody can go there. Please don't add any courses right now. Well, you can. I'll just delete them when we do the import. That's fine. But you can try for yourself. Now, we have the option to add. But, of course, when I add I'm going to close this in preview. When I add a course and I've made a mistake, program is not there yet. Now I'd like to be able to edit it. And then I can do that quite easily by going to the data grid and decide for an on-row click exit and say edit course. I'm just going to call it edit. And if I save this, now again I have a new exit called edit. And again, I've added some functionality which allows me to edit this program. And cancel. Now, this is already adding it. I can edit it. Well, last step is to delete. Well, with delete, I'd first like to do are you sure? And show as overlay. This one has an exit called cancel and an exit called delete. And now if I go here, I'd like to do first I need the button. I'm going to add the button to the row. And that button is called, follow button exit, called delete. Again, I can style it a little bit. Instead of the text, I only want to see an icon right now. So trash bin. And I'll make it red just so it's obvious. Save. And now we have delete. And when I click cancel, I don't want to do anything. But when I click delete, I'd like to delete the course. Delete row. And then delete. And now I've also added the delete button. So if I click it now, oh wait, I have forgot to create a screen here. I'm just going to keep it simple. So only are you sure? Add a delete button here. Add a cancel button. Undo. Delete is red with a trash. And I'm going to change the overlay size to small because I don't need much. And now if I click delete, it's an are you sure? If I click cancel, it doesn't delete. If I delete, it's gone. It should be gone. Well, while I'm waiting, because I'm short of time, I'm just going to do the same thing for programs, trimester, and student. And just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm just going to copy the flowchart. This is program overview. This is, again, copy it. This is trimester overview. And we have another one called student overview. Student overview, like this. Well, it's deleted here, as you can see. It was a little demo glitch, of course. So we have course overview, we have program overview. Of course, I need to change some things. So call it program. Call this. I'm just going to call it new. Instead of add row for courses, I need an add row for programs. So new, and details is not filled with the course details, but with the program details. And I can say create form from all fields. The only thing, these two I don't want. So that's fine. And this is ready now. Then we have the main screen, which is now, of course, courses. Instead of that, I'd like programs. Call it name or first code and name. And here I'm moving the button to there. And this one again has an on-row click called edit. Save. And here again, instead of courses deleting, I'd like to delete the program. Like this. Okay, then program is done. Sorry?
Sorry, just in the flow charts for the overview, you left the button and the title to say course.
Good one. Program and program. Oh. Okay, next one is students. This one is student add row, student delete row. Here again, I'd like the students. Yeah, that's good. I'm not going to bother right now with required fields, but here again, it's student overview. This. Create data grids. And I'm just going to use first name and email. And I only selected first name because instead of this, I just like to see first name with a space plus last name. And what I'm showing you now is the expression editor. And this expression editor is used for filters, calculations, all that kind of stuff. And if you've ever used formulas in Excel, you'll notice quite a bit of similarity. Because a lot of those formulas are also available in WEM, plus some more. But and you can see it's quite easy to use. And in this case, I've just used, instead of just showing the first name, it's the entire name first plus last name. And here again, I'd like to use the button delete. Align it to the right, and the exit is again edit. So now the last one was trimester. So now open the trimester. And we have here trimester, yes. So trimester. Again, this one is an add row. This one is a delete row. New course. So change this one. From all writable fields, I'd like to start with the name. So we can just change it easily, as you can see. And here we have an overview of the trimester. And then we're almost done with creating the basic screens to edit the supporting data, so to speak. And I've just used the same way to save time because we can gives us more time to do all kinds of other stuff. Trimester. Save. Now, if I click preview now, you'll notice that the only thing I see here is courses or course overview, because I haven't added these flowcharts to the navigation yet, and the navigation is here, the navigation bar, as we call it. And with home, I'm just gonna, for now, add a screen that says welcome. And I'm gonna add the flowcharts that I just created to the navigation. So here in the navigation, you can create menu items. So we have courses, and courses points to course overview. And you can change the visible when. So now I'll just use true, but you can do all kinds of elaborate expressions based on the roles and the roles you define. So you can do role-based access in a very elaborate way if you want to. We also have programs. And that's also true. And we have students the first trimester. Points to trimester overview. And the last one is students. Students. Like this. And I have to say true. And now I've created a very simple application which allows me to edit my courses, to edit my programs, to edit trimester, and they all work. And if I publish this now, it will also be visible in the staging environment, which is a separate database. And you can see here, and also if you've access this on your computer, then you can see it working. Now, next step is importing. And we're going to import the data that David has provided. And we're going to do that in the courses. To import data, I'm going to use a different flowchart just to because it's way easier to manage in that way. So import courses. And here, I'll add a button, and I can just add it from here. So import, separate it a little bit, make it blue so it's obvious, and give it an import icon. And this one, instead of an exit, it points directly to this flowchart. And the first step that I need to do is create a way to select the import file. Select file. Again, in an overlay. And I know already I have a button called cancel. And I have a button called imports. And if I double click it, all I want to do here is be able to select an import file. For that, normally I use a system folder, and I create a new field called file. Doesn't really matter how you. And this file is, and just drag it there as a form. Input file. And I already created those buttons. So this is the import button. This is the cancel button. I'm not going to bother with any format or layout for these buttons right now. But I already know if it's cancel, I don't want to do anything. So here, cancel, I'm just going to end it. And if it finds the end node, it's going to go back to where you started. So in this case, I've started from the courses, so that's where it's going to end. If I've created if I've selected the file, then the next step is to import the file, which is done by the import node. And as you can see, you can import different formats, but in this case, it's I think a CSV. And the source is the file. And the destination is I'm not going to do it directly to the database, but one thing what WEM allows me to do is I can create a mapping from an example. And I just remembered that I forgot to download it, I think, from David. Let's go to David.
I can pass it on here if you want.
Where's your email? Where did you send it? Oh, here it is. I already have it. Save as. Save. Okay, there it is. Then I can select it here. And it reads the file, and these are the data in that file. And normally when you import, what I've done here is create database files, or what David has done, a database list. These are actually data stored in the database, but you can also select a transient list. And transient only lives in that session of the user that's logged in at that, or that uses the application at that point. So we have course code, what we need. We have course. We have program. We have program code. Program code. We have credits. That's, I think, a numerical field. And we have trimester. And what we have here is, now last step is to map them to the right field. So course goes there, program goes there, and program code goes there, credits and trimester. Save. So now I've created an import. Normally, what I would do now is first check if that import does what I expect it to do. So here we need to add the destination. So I'm just going to use an empty interaction node, only add the import, and say just add all these fields. Save. And this is just for testing purposes right now. So if I go back to, this is staging, to preview, if I go to courses, I should see an import. Didn't save yet, probably. Import courses. Browse and course sample data, import. And you can see it's working. So this is the import file. But this is just in the session. So if I close now preview and open it again, it's gone. Of course, you want to transform it into data that's in different lists of the database. So then it's going to be a little bit more complicated, but we're going to work with it. So we have an import. First, we're going to loop over the import. For every one I find, I'm going to add a row to the database, to the courses table, and then code and name and credits need to be filled. And it's very easy. Code is filled by course code. Just drag it in there. Name is filled by name. That's just course. And we have credits is filled by credits. And now already this is enough to import the courses. But we also have the trimesters and we have the programs. And this is already empty right now. But I don't want to create a row of programs for every row in the database, or for every row in the import. Because if I would import this, then you would see, let's drag it there for now, that the programs are repeating. So I'd like to only import them when there's a new one. So the fastest way to do that is to edit the loop order and say, I'm gonna loop over program and then over trimester, like this. And then I only have to do, I have to check if that's the first one. So let's first add let's see, add a decision. And now I want to know if the row I'm on has the same program code as the last one. For that, I need a new field that says, that's the reference to, what is it? The import. Import. And then all I have to do is check if the import of course, so the previous row, is the same as the current one. And this is a decision node. So you can see this decision, I put an expression in there, and based on what the end result of the expression is, I can choose where to go. But first I need to set this, this value to the current row. That's at the end. So set the current row. And the first one is empty. So first one, if it's the same, is empty, import, or they're the same. If that's the case, oh no, if it's empty, I need to say has value. So if this one has a value, then they're the same, then I don't have to add a new row. If not, then I have to add a new row. So if it's yes, I continue, but if it's no, I add a row of programs, and the code of programs, or this one, and the name of programs is filled by the import. So let's say we have the code, program code, we have the name called program. So that's the first step. So if they're not the same, then I have to add them. But I also have the trimester. So in the trimester, I'm just going to keep it simple for myself, because the other option that I have, it's a little bit slower. So when you do a lot of data, this is not the right way to do it. But you can also say go to first row, where the trimester name is the import trimester name. And if it's found, then what I do is set the trimester reference. And if it's not found, I'll add a row to add the trimester to the database. So add row. And the name of the trimester assignment is the name of the import. So there it is. The only thing we also had with trimester, we have start date and end date. And for now, I'm just going to use fixed dates. But for that, I'll have to know which trimester it is. So we have a couple that the trimester can I add to the decision node. And now I can say new text exit. And what we have summer, spring, winter, and fall. So summer, spring, winter, and fall. And now it allows me to do the decision node. But to be honest, I'd rather do it in a decision or in itself. And I can also create an expression for this. So choose when, let's say this one is spring, then date is 2/21. What's the first day of spring? Let's say we do 3 and then 1.
Okay.
Or 4.
21st of March.
Yeah. No, 1st of April this.
Right.
And then I can do the same for the other ones. So this is then summer. That's 1st of 7. Fall. That's 1st of, what is it, 10. And then winter is 2023, and then 1. Now I've created an expression that automatically fills the start date of the semester. Default date. What was it again? Literal? I don't know. I'll just add 2020. This is if it doesn't work. anything above this. So it just checks if this is true, then do this. If this is true, do this, and just checks it all off. Oh, what did I do? Like this. So you can validate. Now, only thing I'm missing here is the program ref, which I have to set. And I can imagine for you guys, it might already look a little bit complicated, but that's just how it is. And now what I do, so first I add the courses, then I check if I need to add a program. If I need to add, I add it here and then set the foreign key to the course. Then I go to trimester, I check if it's already there. If it's already there, I say this is the reference. If it's not there, I add one, set the name, set the start date, and then the end date is again an expression, which is move date of the start date, and then move it by 3 months, month, like this. So this one is just this one by 3 months. Now let's see if this works. I'm curious myself, so we'll see. And now we've made a loop to import everything, and this should work. So let's see. We have, I'm not saving yet because I just want to see if it works. And now go to courses, import courses, import. And now you can see biological sciences, you can spring. And I don't know if I do this yet, then it's not saved. So now it seems to be working. So let's save it now. Yeah, end of loop, like this. And now again, import it. Import. If I go here now, well, it doesn't seem to work. So I've made a mistake. This one does work. Let's see. Okay. Well, this one, I'm going to do it now the easier way, which is not performing better, but let's just do this one. No, not trimester. Let's go to programs. Again, go to row. Import program is the same as the program in the list. Like this. If it's not found, I'm going to add it. If it is found, I'm going to do a default. And the only problem I now have is that I saved the data. So I'm going to delete it first before I do the import. So let's delete multiple rows of the programs, delete multiple rows of the courses, and delete multiple rows of the trimester. So before I do the loop, I'm going to delete everything. And now let's see if it works. We have courses, import it. Let's go to programs. Now it does work. And one thing I could do here, just to show you some other functionality, what we also have is what we call calculated fields. And with calculated fields, I can, for instance, go to programs and say count courses. And that those courses are a number that count, and then say is calculated. And then say count programs. No, count courses, I have to say. Count courses. Where the program reference is the same. No. Let's do this. Program reference is the same as the row ID of that program. Save. Where are we? Program overview. I'd like to add that field that I just added. I'm going to refresh for a minute. And then program. And here I'd like to add that field that I just created, the count courses. So if I save this now and preview, go to programs, and you can see 24 courses, 26, 24, 24. So quite a bit of courses per row. Oh, it's double, so it didn't delete everything I want. Why is that? Course overview, no import. Is it in the import, David? Probably not, right? No. Let's see. Why is that not working? Now it's there only once. I don't know what I did, but it works now. And you can see here 12 courses, 13, 12, 12, and 7. This is still very simple. So only just, well, let's say the basics of connecting data together. I think, David, what's the next step? Do you want to select courses now as a student? I think that's the goal, right? You can see here also the dates that are correct.
Yeah,
and
I think what we can do. Sorry, that I was in mute.
Yeah.
If you can publish, then I will upload this new data already.
Oh yeah, of course.
And we had in mind to add professors to our courses through the,
that's a good
the API.
Yeah. Yeah. What WEM allows us to do is to create APIs, and I can consume an API, meaning connect to a different system and get data, expose an API, meaning creating an API which other systems can use, or use remote data sources. And we have a system called Northwind, which is from Microsoft, which is just an OData service that we can use, and I can just import it quite easily. And now it's just like I've added the, you can use them like I've added them to the database. And I think you want to use employees, right?
Yeah.
David?
Yeah.
Okay. And what we have for the course, we'd like to add a professor. I think it's like this. And I can also reference to the OData list. And in this case, employees. And let's first see what's in the employee overview, or professor overview, and add it to like this, professor overview. And again, just to keep the same style, I'm going to add a panel and call it professor overview. And here I'd like to see the OData connection that I just did. Employees. Let's say, where are the names? First name, last name, title. Yeah, doesn't really matter. Let's see. Again, preview it. I haven't created a navigation item yet. And you can see here, based on the, these are the professors that we have. And I'm just going to, yeah, add them to the courses, I think at random. And to do that, I'm going to start again from the course overview. First, add a field called professor. I've added that already, course overview. So add it to our data grid. So professor, let's say we use last name. And I'd like to use the first name as well with a comma and a space. First name. So now we have as a field, it just isn't filled yet. So let's assign the professor. How many do we have? I think let's add the navigation item. Professor, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Yeah.
We can add them manually if you want.
First, it's also an option. Yeah. But yeah, we've done the loop already, so let's do it manually. So then all I do is have the professor know the course overview and add it to the details as well. So we have professor. And then select, where are we? Course overview. I'm just going to use the same thing I'm using here. And just copy it. And then here in the option label, use this one. Select professor. And then sort by last name only. Like this, save. And if we go to courses now, we'll see an empty professor and we can edit it and say, this is, hey, it's not there. Why is it not there? Oh, of course.
You don't need to.
This should. And now, if I would select you can now select the professor. So Margaret Peacock. So this works as well. Let's publish it. Then you can add some professors while you're at it, David.
Yep.
Because now, again, after publishing, it's the same as what I've created in preview. Doesn't mean you're forced to have the same staging as preview. For instance, I can also say that trimester is not something I want in staging. And what we have a visible when expression. And here, just as an example, I can say is preview. And if I would publish it now, just to show you how it works, and this visible when can contain anything you want. So it can be based on a role or based on a value, or for instance, if I select a certain program, then there's no professor. It doesn't really matter. But what I can do now, if I now change the, now you'll see trimester. And if have I published it already? I think I did, yeah. Then if I now go to the staging environment, go to courses, and go to this, now you can see I can select the trimester. And that's only because I changed the visible when. And this visible when is a powerful tool. It's everywhere. It's on buttons. It's on navigation items. You can use it everywhere. And that's what you use to create your role-based access system, or just the logic in a input screen where you want certain fields only to show when a certain value is met. So it's a very powerful tool. And let's remove it for now. Like this. Okay, save. Let's now start with, let's say, password control, so login functionality. We have a welcome screen here, but I'm going to add some login functionality to it. So first step for that is to know if a user is logged in. And for that, I always use an active user field. Active student is what we're going to call it now. Reference and call to student. And before I go to welcome, I'm going to check if this one has a value. Has a value. Like this. And if it has a value, then yes, then I can say welcome student, active student. welcome, and then first name. Save. And the other option, of course, is that the person is not logged in. And for that, I need a login flowchart. Like this, default exit. And in this login flowchart, I'm going to show them a screen that says login. And that login, now I'm going to use something, what I haven't used up until now, is that everything you see right here is just using the entire screen. I can even change it because what I don't want right now is this on the side. So I can change the settings of my master template. Select and configure design. So say show left menu is false. That should work. Close. Let's cancel. Now you don't see the left menu. Because what WEM also has is it's from itself responsive, but you can change it to any way you want by, for instance, using adaptive columns. And what an adaptive column allows me to do is change the screen based on the screen size. So when it's large, I only want to see want the columns to be like this, and if it's medium, I want this. And if it's small, I don't want to see the entire column at all, this one. And I can remove it like this. And this allows me to create a screen that's responsive the way I want it to be responsive, instead of WEM doing it automatically. And now I can just use, for instance, a login. And then for login, we want a username and password. So username and new field, password. And those are, of course, I want them over here. And in addition to that, in the footer, I'm going to add a button that says login, follow button exit, login. Sign in. And this one is going to be over the entire width, like this. And now I've created a flowchart that, let's see if I drag the arrow. No, I did not. Which now, if I go to home, he knows I'm not logged in, and you can see this is only a part of the screen. But if I change it, you can see it changing based on how wide the screen is. So this allows you to create a screen that works on a mobile as well as on a bigger screen or on an iPad, whatever you want. I think it's a little bit small, so let's change it a little bit. In the large screen, I want to do a little bit bigger. So save, and now you can see it's a little bit bigger. Then next step is we have a username password. Normally I would hash the password, but now I'm just going to store the password itself. Let's do this, yeah. And all I'm going to do now is show you how it works. Because what we do, first step is if someone tries to log in, we go to the row of that student with that same email where it's the username. And login. And if it's found, or if it's not found, then login failed. So we use a Boolean for that, and here it just says login failed. Yes. So if it's not found, and then I go back to login. The only thing is, of course, we want the user to see it, and for that we have things called a conditional. And a conditional is only visible when a certain condition is met. So if login failed is met, if that's true, then this is shown. And I can use an alert saying username, an icon is warning, username or password incorrect. Save. And if it is found, then the next step is to check if the password is the same. So now I'll use a decision of password, and that's the same as the password I have in the database. And again, now I'm just doing it directly. Normally you would hash this with a pepper and a salt, if that's is any recollection for anybody, but now this is just a demo. If it's found, if it's not the same, so default exit, then we fill again. And if it is the same, then the person is logged in. So let's say yes, and the person is logged in, and then we go back to home, and then the person should be logged in. Now, of course, I know there's no user right now, so all I can see now is username, password's incorrect. So let's go to students. We haven't. Did you have any import for students, or we're going to do it manually? I think we're going to do manual. Huh? Let's go manual. To let's say student overview, and then in the details, add a way to do the password. One thing I can also do is check for password strength, but that's normally when you create the password. For now, we're going to just do the easy way and say DAO and then welcome. Save. Now, if I would log in now, I want to see if that worked. So this template has a setting called user, I think, or username, and that username is the same as the active student's first name plus a space plus the active student last name. Close. Okay, and now here you should see when I'm successfully logged in. So welcome. And now this is really not best practice, so let's change that first. So here I can also say display as password. Save. And now you can't read it. Username and password incorrect. So what did I do wrong? DAO@WEM.io. Welcome. Ah, there it is. No thanks. Welcome DAO, and now I'm logged in. So this now allows me to create the user-based access, because what I can do now is go to, instead of in the navigation, what I've done up until now is put true everywhere. But now I can also say, create a calculated field that says is logged in, yes, no, and then a person is logged in if it has a value for active student. Save. And now I can just, instead of this true, I can say is logged in. And the same for courses, is logged in. And the same for trimester, is logged in. And the same for professor. I'm not going to do students right now because then you can't create a new one. And this is just for demo. But now you can see these are now visible. But if I would preview again, you can see they're not visible until I log in. No thanks. Now, I think next step is to, I don't know how much time we have left.
Yeah, I think we need to check. Alvaro, how much time do we have left?
I think we have between 10-15 minutes.
Okay, I think maybe before we continue here, what we can do is see if there's any questions or remarks so far, because obviously we can keep building and building, and the next step would be to sort of create a shopping basket for each student where he can add his programs and choose his trimesters and all this sort of stuff. which we can do with the next 15 minutes, but perhaps there are questions from anybody, or remarks or doubts. Anybody?
Well, I don't know if you already said that or something, but I have like a general the question in general.
Okay.
This demo of WEM, is it like a platform that you can use online, or is it like a private service that we can download or purchase or something?
You want to
This
take
is
that down?
working in the browser. Yeah, this is working in the browser, so you can see here, everything here is working in the browser.
And if you want to make an account for yourself, so if you want to go,
you can go to my.wem.io and then create account. And when you have an account, well, then you need to do the two-factor.
yeah. So
For 1128. Already have an account. Then from here, you can go to the modeler, which I've just shown you, and you can also do training, go to support, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And it's all online.
So to answer your question, Wendoli, you can go to either my.wem.io, or even if you go to wem.io, there's a button top right that says start for free. You guys can all make your own accounts and start playing around. And then when you go to this area, which is your account section, shall we say, in the training section, there is a free training. So it takes you step by step through the creation of an application. You actually create a little web shop with some inventory management and so on. So yeah, feel free to go ahead and create your own accounts and yeah, start playing around.
Cool, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one small question. Is there some kind of limitation regarding the web server that you can run the application?
Okay, there is a couple of options. So the way we are doing it during this demo is we're obviously just running it off the servers of WEM, and there is a multi-cloud strategy. So that means that we are using the WEM public cloud, but you can also install the WEM runtime in your applications to a private cloud, which can be, an Amazon, AWS, Google Cloud, whichever one you choose, or you can even install the runtime in your applications on premise. That gets done by deployment through Kubernetes. So there's a cluster that gets deployed to wherever it is you want to have it. And then when you go ahead in the future and click on publishing, that will redirect, or you will have the option to redirect. Instead of publishing to the standard WEM service, you can redirect that and publish it to your own servers, whether it's private cloud or public.
Okay, thank you.
Nice.
Alexander,
You're welcome.
Alexander has a question in the chat.
I see that. Okay, so what you create with WEM are either web-based applications, or you can create native mobile applications as well. So you can create iOS or Android applications. In the case of iOS and Android, what the system does, it will build an executable for you. So you can upload that to the relevant app store and people can download it from there. On the web-based, you cannot export it. So you can only publish it through the modeler to whichever server you've set up. 99% of the time people use the WEM server because it's nice and easy. But if you go public cloud, private cloud or on-prem, you can publish over there. WEM does not generate code. So it does not generate a bunch of code that you can then install on a computer, which is what allows it to be so quick in creating new iterations of your program, and what makes this publishing process completely seamless as well. So people that are using your application, if you guys are now in staging, every time that DAO clicks publish the staging, you can actually keep using it, and it doesn't have any downtime really, unless you're making big changes. All right, I see Ignacio, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for all this webinar. You just said that this does not generate code, but what if I do have some sort of complicated stuff or algorithm that I need to use somehow and incorporate into an application developed by WEM?
There are many different ways. So what you do is, if you have that algorithm, in most cases, you're able to replicate your algorithm within WEM. That's what most people do. If you just have a certain workflow that you want to incorporate, you will just rebuild it. It's almost quickest and easiest. Other options are, if you have an existing application that you want to, let's say, outsource some functionality to, you can integrate with an API. WEM can connect to anything that is REST, SOAP, OData, raw HTTP requests, so you can connect to any of those. And then there is still an option, which we haven't really looked at, of using widgets. And widgets are specific parts of functionality that you can drag and drop into any flowchart. Maybe, Dao, if you can head over to, let's say, the program overview and drop in a chart of how many courses per program we have or something like that while I finish explaining. That would be awesome.
Yeah, let me finish this.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what you can do there, the widgets within WEM, you can also create your own widgets. Now that is coding, right? And the widgets are a combination of JavaScript, CSS, and a little bit of WEM script. WEM script more than anything is to sort of check which variables you have running in your JavaScript and say where they need to connect to. So that's also an option of integrating extra code from elsewhere. And then there are some other options. There are ways of within the navigation item templates that we saw, you can use inline scripting. So there's a little hook at the top that you drag and drop in there, and you just plug in whatever it is you want. All depending on, what do I need to do? What do I want to do? How complex is it? If I leave it on the other side, is it better to integrate? Depending on performance as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Ignacio. Anybody else? I mean, I see now that DAO is dragging in some widgets where we can now see, how many.
How long have you been developing WEM? For how long?
DAO has been going for quite a while, but it is fairly easy.
The first, do you mean when we started with the platform, or when I started building with WEM?
No, the platform itself.
We started 16 years ago with the first version, but this version that you see now is version 4, and we started from the ground up in 2017, I think.
Okay.
So it's been.
So this one is now running the latest .NET Core, which is the latest of .NET.
Thank you.
To give you an idea of where is WEM used, because I think that's interesting as well. There's a lot of low-code, no-code platforms out there these days. A lot of them are fairly new, but as Dawood just mentioned, WEM has been around for quite a while. It started as an internal tool for the company that developed it, then became a tool that they commercialized. And so it's been rebuilt from the ground up already 4 times, which means that it's pretty well tested, shall we say.
Okay.
Clients who use it, the Dutch government, big client, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, 6 or 7 more. Automotive, we have labels like BMW, Daimler-Benz, recently Volvo China has joined as well, who are working together with a WEM partner called DXC Technology, which you may have never heard of. Very big company, used to be HP Services. They're building part of their backend for receiving and manipulating data from the driverless cars that they are testing. A big part of that is built in WEM. So you can get it very complex, and that's why I'm saying, like, depending on what your algorithm is that you want to build, there's probably a good chance you can build it within WEM if they're doing million data points on driverless cars, right? Since recently, WEM has been in LATAM for a little over a year, which is where I come in and my team. I'm based in Panama, just not too far away from you guys, which is also where Xandor Systems comes in, which is one of our partners who helped set up this this webinar, and we have a representative here, Marco, and we will leave our contact information in the chat at the end. But yeah, we started on our first government projects here in Panama a few months ago, and very soon, by the end of next month, there will be a first public portal available for, I always forget the word in English, but trámites, with the government over here.
Yes.
Very soon, also starting with Grupo Telefónica. They're doing 5 separate pilots with us. And we have a lot of things that are going to be coming up soon in Costa Rica as well. So yeah, we're growing quite fast, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, which I'm glad to see that there's some of this shared here as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else with a question? Because I think by now, Dawa has built the whole system, and we can sell it first.
He's on a creative spin.
Did anybody have any questions still? No? Okay. What I'm going to do, Marco, I assume you are okay with me sharing your email in the chat here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will put the email, as you can see, marco@xandorcr.com. That is our local partner, one of our strategic partners in Costa Rica. Please feel free to contact Marco. I will put mine in here as well. At wem.io. So feel free to contact me as well. We are the regional representatives for Latin America, or me and my team, let's put it that way. Feel free to start using WEM. You know, there's we've shown you where you can start making your own account. And yeah, if you have any questions, you have Marco and me at your disposal to ask any questions. There is a very good forum as well in your my.wem.io environment. There's a forum where there's a very lively development community. Not yet too many people who speak Spanish in there, but if you speak English in anything you get stuck, head over there, have a look around. Most of the answers will be on there, and if not, just shoot off a question, and probably by the time you wake up the next day, you will have 5 different ways of doing it, all of which are going to work just fine.
Yes, and in WEM, at the WEM portal, there are also a lot of resources for self-learning.
Yes.
WEM, and keeping track of all the steps that you've already learned until you get the end. And there are so many also exercises that you can go through and check them and modify them according to your preferences. And the training allows you to create an a real e-commerce site. So it is not something easy to create by hand coding. You need to do so many things, but in the end, with WEM is something easy, and it is very simple and guided through all the examples that are given in all the training. And there is an excellent manual and an excellent documentation, also and videos and everything that can be used there. So we invite you to access the free accounts of WEM, and so you can evaluate the tool, the platform. Also, I want to say that next week, Senfotech and us we are gonna give the last of the 3 series of these kind of webinars. The last one is gonna be a forum with 5 panelists. In this case, David, myself, and also 2 customers that are already using in Dutch the WEM platform, and we will want to have also Ignacio Trejos as the moderator, and we are going to be more than pleased that everybody get along with us and make your questions, because it is going to be something open, agnostic in technology, but also based in WEM. So you are invited in a week at 9 a.m.
Perfect. Do we have the link at hand for the next session?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that. Are you gonna send us the invite via email or something?
I think the university is
Yes, I have the link. If you want, I can share it in the chat or at once.
Yeah, that
everybody
would be
to
perfect.
have it. Okay, give me a couple of minutes and I will share it.
There's a question by David Gerardo. Is it possible to connect sensors and have an IoT app?
Yes, it is. At the moment, we kind of go back to what I mentioned before about integrations, right? So at the moment, you would have to connect through a web service, either REST, SOAP, or data. I keep forgetting what the standard language is in IoT systems. There's going to be a more direct integration, but at the moment, most IoT sensors, they will have from their vendors have a way of connecting your sensors online, and from there we can pull and push. We had the same question from a client in a demo, I think with Marco. Yes, true. Marco, you were there. They asked us, hey, we have some switches. They are connected through this. This is the brand we want to use. And the vendor had like an online testing area. And within 5 minutes, we had integrated with these switches, and we were clicking on and off some switches that were somewhere in the US. So yeah, there are other parts of IoT integrations that have been done. For example, Arrow Electronics. I don't know if you've heard of them. Very big electronics provider. They make sensors for Formula One cars. I'm not going to say that they're using WEM from Formula One cars, not yet. But they have tried with all kinds of sensors, multi-factor sensors with up to 8 different measurements being taken. That can then be monitored with what's happening with WEM. And here over in Panama, we're actually looking at doing some stuff with the sensors they have in many different points in the Panama Canal. Ignacio, I see you have another question.
Yes, just a quick one. Perhaps I missed it. May I export data into, let's say, relational databases or non-relational databases for doing analytics outside of WEM?
Okay. The way to export would be, we saw an import node at some point.
David.
Go ahead.
Do you mind if I leave?
No, I know you have to go.
Yeah?
You've done more than already. Thanks very much.
I've built a quite ugly way to add courses. Of course, it needs to be a little bit better, but at least it works and I publish. So anybody who wants to check it can see for themselves.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dawa.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Now, thank you.
Thanks again. So yes, we saw an import node earlier where you could bring in JSON, XML, CSV, and Excel. There is a similar export node that offers a way of exporting things. The other way is to expose your data. So if you have a, let's see if I've got the thing here open, I can show it very quickly. But basically, you can create APIs very quickly. And let me see. Here we are. So if we have our current system here, which I think, yeah, you should be able to see. So if we wanted to expose our data, you see that in the web services section, there is a tab here that says expose. So we can create a new web service. Call it test again, and here for the 3 environment that WEM has, which is a preview, which is the development environment that we use today, staging, which is for functional testing, which we've published to today as well, and then you have live, which is where your final application is working. As you can see, for each of these environments, you can set separate encryption and authentication methods, you know, using certificates, passwords, etc., etc. So if we just create one, then within our web service, we can start creating operations like, I don't know, something like called courses. And then within courses, we can start defining what our input and output is. So what we are expecting for whoever's calling the data to put in, and then what we're gonna push back is, I don't know, like the program. And so you build up your whole web service like this. Again, nice and easy, same as building in your data model. And then you have a flow chart of where you're going to define, if I get this, what am I going to send in return? And you basically map it out over here. And what WEM does while we're doing this is for each environment, it creates a public URL with the API documentation. So there is an option here to download a WSDL file and a full one, basic one, but also for each operation, we have the request and response examples. And we have them available in SOAP 1.1, 1.2, JavaScript, and the JSON as well for the RESTful API. And it'll show you, okay, this is what I'm supposed to send, and this is what I'm going to get back. I think we've taken up a lot of time already. If there's any further questions, I think we can save those for the...
I have one, well, 2 things. The first one, I've already published in the chat the link for the next webinar so that everybody can have it. And the next question is, how do you integrate WEM with a version control?
Okay, there's several different ways of doing it. At the moment, there is no automatic connection that you can make with, let's say, like GitHub or something. That is actually on the roadmap for later on this year, where there's going to be direct integration. At the moment, there are many different ways of taking care of your version control. Some of it has to do with different versions, as you saw, between preview, staging, and live, so you can move ahead there. There are other ways of creating different versions of your project and then having them hooked up to the publishing process, yes or no. There are ways of building your own little version control, which they've done in the Dutch government, for example. You know, they wanted to have it fully custom made, so they've integrated with the modeler to see where all the applications that they're building are in the process. So yeah, that's the long answer. There's no integration with existing version control at the moment. There is built-in version controls for separate ways of doing it for mobile and for web-based. Mobile, you will have like a build history as well of all the builds that you've done. And you can get extremely granular on rolling out new functions. So WEM is very suitable for agile creation of software. So continuous iteration, just adding new feature, this, that, and the other on the fly. And what a lot of people do, rather than creating completely separate versions, is they will have forks in their workflows that when they say, okay, I'm using version 1.1 of my current software, then it directs one way, and if it's version 1.2, it'll direct somewhere else. And they have a very quick way of then in staging, you just stick a drop down at the top where you see, I want to see how this works in version 1.1, and now I want to see how it works in version 1.2, and you get redirected through these flows, and it means that you can work on very tiny bits of functionality that you're adding in a very flexible way. So that's some of the things that can be done on version control. Does that answer your question, Alvaro?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I think we can keep going, but we should keep some questions for next week as well.
Yes. Yes.
And over here, we are coming up to lunchtime as well, so I have to duck out. But thank you very, very much for the time. Thanks very much for all the questions, for the attention from everybody, for showing up in good numbers. You have our contact details there. Please, feel free to shoot off an email, and we do hope that you start playing around. It's I don't have an IT background. I can't do a demo quite as fast as Douwe does, but I'm getting close. WEM is very friendly to just dive in and start playing around. We didn't get to some of the debug features, for example, but basically when something goes wrong, most of the time WEM will stop you from doing it. And when you do it, it's very quick to point out very easily, like, this is what's going wrong over here. So if you do start using the online training, just dive in and experiment and enjoy.
All right. Thank you so much for the information.
Very welcome.
So thank you, David. Thank you, Marco, and everybody to show up. Don Ignacio also. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Marco, David, and
Okay.
Douwe.
Thank you, everybody, also.
Goodbye.
And see you the next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, David.